I have Logic as well, although I had an older computer that had Logic. I have to reinstall the 40 million gigabyte install that Logic is, which takes a long time to install all the content. But I had it in here and I worked with it, and it worked perfectly with Logic as well. So anyway, but we're Cubase here. So there's the FireWire output. There's also right somewhere over here, there's an Ethernet, right here, Ethernet, which is just Cat5, I guess, what that is. And what this does is allow you to do file transfer back and forth on a local area network, which is cool, and it's always kind of nice to plant this in people's heads. If you have a friend that is on that you can get on a server with them, like on MobileMe or whatever you use to, some sort of a FTP thing, you can do a tune in here and upload it via Ethernet to your computer and go show up directly on his computer in New York and LA, kind of thing, if you want to make it big. Or you can just use this as a file server and load files back and forth. So really large sample files that are like, this goes up to 1 gigabyte of sample RAM. So, moving that over is like, boom, over Ethernet in this guy. So we have that as for file storage only. It doesn't do audio, but it does because we have the FireWire to do that. And then we have 2 USB. One of them is for the 2-host, which is my clinic, which is right here. And then the other one is a 2-device. And 2-device is the one that's it's a square one, and that allows me to use this as a MIDI interface directly to the computer. So, but since I'm using MLAN, it's kind of redundant. I'm using MLAN for everything here. So the first thing, this is kind of the first way we did this, is we have a thing called Total Recall, where I can save all of my edits for my hardware inside the computer and then recall them directly into this, which is very cool. Because I remember the first time I used a software DAW with a virtual instrument, and I was messing around, it's the very first time, and it got to be 4 in the morning. It was so cool. It's like something like Reason, I don't know what I was using. And then I was like, I'm gonna save everything in the computer. So I saved it in the computer and shut it down. Woke up the next morning, turned on the computer, and every setting that I had on all my virtual instruments was exactly where I left it. And I was like, man, wouldn't that be great if I could do that with my hardware synthesizer and have integration that's like that, where I could just recall everything. Because when you turn these off, a lot of times they lose their memory. This one doesn't, but some of them did. In the past, they totally did. So I would turn it on and every track would be grand piano again. And I'd have to load in a file, so I'd have one file format. Or I'd have to go out and buy a separate piece of software that's an editor, like a MIDI Quest editor or something. And I'd have my edits over here, and I'd have my DAW over here, and it was disconnected. It was never truly integrated. Well, this is integration here. So now, if I go like this, I say, do you wish to proceed? Yes, I do. So it basically blasts all of the data that I have for my synthesizer into the Motif XS right here. So there it is, I'm done. So, and that's cool, but this is one of the coolest things that our guy does. I can do simultaneous multi-track recording out of that MLAN port, different audio channels at the same time. And if you don't believe me, I'll just do it. So. Here's my tune, here's my percussion tracks. Actually, I'll just do it this way. And we just hit record. There it is. Okay, so already everything's armed to record here. I have this now slaved to Cubase, so when I start Cubase to record, it's going to just start everything, and you'll just watch this do, unless it fails. No, it won't fail. So we'll hit record. I'm ready to roll. Start. There's level issues here, but I'll be able to control them because I'm going to mix it. So I'm going to turn down a little. I'll just do this for a little bit. But as you can see, that's multi-track audio coming out of a keyboard instrument simultaneously. Nothing does that. There is no product that I can think of outside of our product that has the ability to do that and not crash and not be weird and not be funky or anything. But then I can actually sit here and record right to my laptop. It happens to be a Macintosh, but it works the same on a PC because Cubase is one of the coolest softwares that it's both Macintosh and PC compatible, right? Windows Vista as well, so if you have a Vista machine and you're waiting for it to boot up, and you're way down, and you know, that, no, I'm just kidding. But if you have a Vista machine, and you're fortunate that it's a working one, it's so hard for me to not slam. I used to work for Microsoft, so I have some special, like, how could you fail? But anyway, it's not that bad though. I like the Aero interface, and they're gonna fix it. I talked to my friend there. He said, we're gonna fix it. We're working on it. So anyway, but it works flawlessly in XP. There's my guitar solo. So I'm just gonna get it in here a little bit longer. If there's anything else I want to say before I stop this, I just want to have enough data so we can do some mixing here in a second. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm trying to stop saying the word MLAN because it was one of those things that when we released it at the beginning, it was the first time we'd ever done this, and you know, and there was some issues with the very early versions of the driver. So it's Firewire. There's nothing really different about it. But when I also say the word MLAN, and you turn around and you look at all these other Firewire interfaces out there, they're using our code. Did you know that? Presonus, Motu. Because what we did was we did the initial groundwork for doing multi-channel Firewire recording. It was really hard. There were a lot of technological issues with the drivers at the beginning of it. So what we did was we started this thing called MLAN, and we made it an open source for everybody. And we were trying to get people to sign on to it and stuff. And so a lot of people certainly signed on to it, and they used our technology, and they built a lot of, so anything that does audio and MIDI benefits from a lot of the research we did because we let it go for free. Because Yamaha is a different company. Yamaha is a company that is the largest musical instrument company in the world. It is a major innovator of many different types of technological designs, digital mixers. We were making digital mixers before anybody basically was. In 1987, I think, is our first one. John will correct me if I'm wrong. Is that right? 87, right? And we had flying faders. I remember looking at, in 1988, looking at a DMP7 or a DMP9 or one of those two, and the faders were moving around on it. And it was like, and the only thing I'd ever seen ever do that was an SSL console that was about $750,000. And the fact that Yamaha was doing this for $3,000 or $2,000 at the time was astonishing to me. And it was all digital, you know, that was cool. So because we have this, you know, this type of a commitment to the market, we do things that are just good for the entire music industry rather than just try to compete and win a sale over our competition. So this was one of the things that we developed, was this type of a technology. So that's a true story. What's that?
Does it work with Pro Tools?
Does it work? Well, in what respect?
Like
this multi-track recording? No, it doesn't, because Pro Tools doesn't support anything but themselves. So now what that means is, I mean, and that is kind of a drag about what I think Digidesign. I think Digidesign is a leader in its own right, but is very closed off and force you to either buy a small version of something and then spend a lot of money. But it's a, you know, it's a good product. Digidesign's great, you know, without a doubt. But no, but what you can do, because you've got this stuff, you can move files back and forth after you record this. But there's a lot more options, I think, available to people with other DAW softwares a lot of times. So anyway, but I don't want to diss them because they are a great company. In my back, when I worked at Microsoft, I ran Pro Tools systems. I was absolutely a Pro Tools user. And I just recorded on a record that had Pro Tools in it, and I gave the guy a copy of Nuendo when I left and said, check this out sometime. And maybe he will, so, because Nuendo is great. Anyway, so, and by the way, you notice I turned this down, but still, it's a lot of people are like, how come the level doesn't go down? Because it's digital. So, anyway, I had somebody ask me that one time. But anyway, I've recorded enough of this, so I'll just go ahead and stop it now. So now I have my entire thing while I've been yakking over here. Everything is now, you see, and there's some cool things. Just to show you about, since I'm talking about Cubase here. Let's say I want to take a look at, in fact, I'm going to make sure that, let's see.